Hi, I'm Ron Ferroni here. Some people you might know me as Ozzy from Post Office. The guy who used to have purple running shoes and spiked blonde hair delivering the mail.
Nice.
Uh, Years ago, I used to book here at the Corktown, and I managed a few bands. Used to help out other friends we had, like book shows and stuff like that. Did it for quite a few years. Had a fanzine back then called Steelore. I don't know if anybody has heard about it. We kind of revived it recently as a Facebook page,
Yeah.
more on history and the Hamilton and greater area music scene.
And you're from Hamilton.
And I'm from Hamilton. Influence for me, TV was a lot of it. Back in the 1960s, became a huge fan as a little kid in the Monkees TV show. Loved it, loved the humor of it, loved the music of it. Beatles cartoon back then, bubblegum stuff like the Archies, Sugar Sugar. Led to a little bit later on stuff like Brady Bunch, Partridge Family, into that kind of stuff. Around 70, 71, 7-Up was doing a promotion, Rock Caps. My aunt had a coffee shop on Ottawa Street. And we used to go down there all the time. All the steel workers from Nefasco would come over and they would have all these access to all these rock caps, try to put all the bands together. Guess Who? Stampeders, Lighthouse, Crowbar.
Yeah.
Got to like a lot of these bands because of this. Then as I said, led into like other stuff like Don Kirshner's rock concert. I think Dick Cavett had a show back late 60s, early 70s at that time. Saturday Night Live, musical guests of Saturday Night Live, all influenced me, got me into a lot of music. Leading up to times that they started throwing a lot of stuff into TV shows, artists and TV shows. I remember the Standells on the Munsters. Bands like showing up on the Flintstones cartoon, or Gilligan's Island, or I used to love all this garage bubblegum type stuff back then. It was all great. And it's just got me into really enjoying fun music. Hey, what got me into punk music? Honestly, it would be a buddy of mine, Diego Almonte. He got into it a little bit before I did. I was more of a rocker at the time. He became a huge Police fan. Wasn't too keen on it at first, but I started to like Roxanne a lot. And then we started going out to bars with friends of ours. We'd go dancing and stuff, and we'd started one more, got into Rocky Horror. All great stuff that you could dance at a club at. We're into a lot of the new wave and a lot of the punk rock stuff at the time. Getting in more and more into it. Then the big one was, the second Police picnic. Wanted to go to a concert. Hadn't been to a concert in years. And then it got blown away by bands like Talking Heads. Loved the Spoons. English Beat. Felt so sorry for Joan Jett getting booed off the stage. I don't know what it was with Toronto, why they hated Joan Jett so much at the time. But, I liked their music. In a sense, that concert, Flock of Seagulls, another one of the bands. It was a great bill. And, I was sold. A little while later, Mohawk College, their Common Hour. They have the Shakers and Florida Razors, local bands playing. Saw them play there. Went to go see them for Halloween at a place called Headlines on Catherine Street, the old Spectator building. Remember going to see bands like starting to see like the Forgotten Rebels at different bars. Got more and more heavily into it. Started listening to more and more records. Started hanging around places like Record World, Cheapies. Finding out music, reading magazines, up on this stuff, got more and more heavily into the music. Music that I wasn't interested in one time, a few years later, loved it. First concert, early 70s. As I was talking before about the 7-Up caps, one of the bands was Guess Who. We're at the CNE with our family, with my mom and all that, and found out the Guess Who were playing that. And because of the caps, I wanted to see the Guess Who. I was only maybe 11, around 10, 11 that time. Bother my mom. I go, can we go see the Guess Who? Can we go see the Guess Who? So she caves in, buys us tickets. We get in, see the first band. Then my mother goes, okay, that's it, we're going. What, they haven't played yet? No, we're going. She couldn't handle all the long hairs, smoking funky cigarettes and stuff like that. It was just a little too much for her. My mother was, guess, too old school for that kind of stuff. So I said, it's my first show, Guess Who? Never got to see the Guess Who, but it was my first concert. First punk rock show would have been Forgotten Rebels at a place in Burlington called Oriented Express. I think Kimbo's restaurant. It was in the basement. I said I wasn't as huge into the time, but friends wanted to go see. We all went to go see it. First punk rock show I ever saw was Forgotten Rebels. It turned out to be the band I would probably follow the most in the punk rock scene over the years. And to this day, I'm a huge Forgotten Rebels fan. Favorite shows? Stuff at Larry's Hideaway, 999, Lord's of the New Church, down at the International Center, seeing the Cure, bands like Susie and the Banshees. Love that. Any Ramones gig. I've seen the Ramones so many times. They're always a blast. Always great show. Jesus and Mary Chain, the Cramps at the concert hall. Any show at concert hall. A lot of great shows at the concert hall. Jane's Addiction. Just so many good shows, bands back then. I could sit here and I could list off a long list. One of my favorite shows, though, is here at the Corktown. Booked Red Cross a couple times. Me and friend Bob and that, and a bunch of us, huge Red Cross fans. It was like getting a chance to book them in Hamilton here was the greatest thing, and being able to do it twice. I would love to get them back in Hamilton again because great guys, great show. They just put on an awesome show, and probably one of the best shows ever here at this bar. So I started promoting, managing, getting involved around 88 when we originally started the fanzine. Started getting to know a few of the bands. Started managing a few bands. Later by the 90s, we were still starting to promote shows here and there. Did some stuff at Willy Wogs. We did other stuff eventually down here at the Corktown. Then kind of took over booking the Corktown till about the mid-90s, and then kind of got out of music for a bit. Recently, I've gotten back into it, doing a lot by bringing the Steelore name back and of the fanzine and doing a fanzine / history of Hamilton music and area scene called Steelore. And I've been recently involved in that, trying to get more and more. Would like to get back into more and more doing shows. Would be nice. So we started getting promotion, doing bands. Kind of started out having a bit of a band ourselves. We went by the name Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine, me and a bunch of friends. Then I started managing a few bands, sort of like Progressive Minstrels and then Crimson Jimson. Helped out a lot of other bands like All Good Children locally. Friends of ours from London and Toronto area like UIC. Another band, the Legend Killers. Always tried to help them, book them shows in the Hamilton area and stuff. Then started working with friends of ours from Oshawa. I had a fanzine out there called In Your Ear. along with us, as we had our own fanzine at the time called Steelore. Our band, Dr. Goldfoot, played a few gigs here and there. Got to know a band I booked down here called the Ultra 5. We played with them in Oshawa, played with them in New York City. Randy Steele, if you remember him, he was our guitar player after a while. And then later on, when Diego quit as drummer, Joe Santos joined us for a while, did a few interesting gigs. I remember opening for Hated Uncles at the Gown and did a version of Gloria. I swear it lasted about 45 minutes long. People were jumping on stage. It was a pretty crazy night, but I said I got kind of out of it after a while and just getting back into it. A lot of gigs here. It says my favorite gig booking here has been Red Cross, but bands like Doughboys, bringing in, and it says always loved booking the Forgotten Rebels here. And a lot of bands that have booked the Doughboys many times here. They're always a great show.
Killjoys?
Killjoys, it might have been more Bob at that time because I was kind of getting out of doing the bookings here. I booked the Monday Nuns before. Trying to think of some of the other bands. A lot of local bands. We try to keep the bar a lot of local. I'd work with Toronto promoters, and they'd bring acts in, and we'd book them here, either here or when we were running secondary upstairs Chuggies. We called it at that time. We'd put bands in there. Some of them didn't draw that well at first. Others were really good crowds. But then it says bands like booking Dayglow Abortions here. That was crazy. Boy, could those guys drink. Trying to get the bar to to allow that many cases of beer. But there's been a lot of good things. It says Minstrels helped them out with a couple of records. And then with Crimson, they put out a couple albums, and then I says it did it for a while. Then it got out of the music scene for a while, and then just recently getting back in.
Okay.
So to add to question 7, booking Big Sugar here a couple times. Incredible shows. Not as much as people showing up as more they just put on an incredible show. Booking Sloan here, Eric's Trip. This has bands like Soul Virgins, UIC, Gruesomes. Always love Gruesomes and UIC shows. And amongst other bands, like I said, there was a lot of local stuff, a lot of the Hamilton music scene at the time. So what did I like most and what I like least of promoting and doing shows? Liked the most was the social aspect, getting to meet a lot of bands, meeting a lot of people, hearing a lot of stories and stuff. It was great. The part that drove me nuts was the business side of it. Band writers that were ridiculous, wanting way too much, dealing with agencies that basically left you no room to, you don't make any money because they want you to have a little bit of room where you make money, but then they add all this other stuff on and you got all your own expenses to pay for the stuff. So it was the business side I hated. Another part I didn't really like too much was sometimes bands thought a little too much of themselves a few times, and instead of just going out and having fun, enjoying playing and stuff like that, I just got sick of it. Outside of the music part, they were great to talk to. You got on the business side, it was nothing but a headache. So that's part of the reason I kind of got out of doing music, was that I just got a little tired of all this.
Lose money.
Yeah, it wasn't being fun anymore. And I liked the fun part of it. That's what I was involved. It was all about fun, enjoying it. When it started not being fun anymore, that's why I got out of it. And it says it was the business side. And I can understand sometimes where they're coming from, but it just got harder after a while, and it just kind of got away from it. Okay, favorite food. Okay, my last name is Ferroni, so my favorite food is pasta. That is an easy answer there. But I love a lot more stuff. I do love a lot of vegetarian, vegan stuff. But it says Middle Eastern, East Indian, Asian food, South American food. I like all food. I just like food. Most useless talent. There you go. Special thanks to Steve and Stronger Than Ever Videos.